Hello, I'm John Scroggins, Superintendent of Bartlesville Public Schools. Tonight I want to take you into the classroom to talk about 3 technology bond proposals totaling $2.92 million to be voted on this Valentine's Day, February the 14th. The future of any community is tied directly to its schools. Other school districts, such as Union, Jenks, Broken Arrow, and Dewey, have recently passed technology bond proposals to bring modern teaching tools to their students. Why do we believe that putting modern teaching tools into the schools is important? Well, our major goal is to increase student achievement. Research tells us that computer-assisted instruction can actually quadruple the learning rate. Our role as educators is to equip students with the tools to help them operate and learn and grow in an information society. By the turn of the century, 2/3 of all jobs are going to be technologically related. Right now, 26% of our colleges and universities require some knowledge of computer technology to enter into their undergraduate programs. Yes, we have some technology in our schools, but there's very little consistency. It is our desire to create an equal footing for all of our students to have equal access to computer instruction. These 3 proposals were developed after many hours of a citizens group working to identify what they felt was representative of the desires of this community. We are proposing an elementary technology bond issue in the amount of $640,000, a secondary technology issue totaling $1.94 million, and a library media issue totaling $340,000. These are the results of many hours of work of many people working to enhance opportunities for students. It is presented in this way to give our voters a choice and to better communicate what we mean by instructional technology. We need all of these bond issues to pass. Instead of me talking about the importance of technology, let's step into one of our classrooms and let those who are going to be directly affected by it give you that information, our classroom teachers and our students.
Today we are observing Mrs. Cunningham's 4th grade class use the integrated learning system. The integrated learning system is a tool used by the teachers in order to equip their students with skills that will send them out into the world. It is nothing more than a tool. It's like a basal. It has a range of programs running from kindergarten through 8th grade on the system we have. I can have a child in my classroom on 1st grade material. I can have a child on 8th grade material. Children sit right next to each other and they do not know what level they're on. They wear headphones, they interact with the ILS, or the integrated learning system, and the teacher, if they have a problem, the teacher goes to the child, sits with them, and works through the problem. We also have a lab manager, Mr. Perkins, who assists the teacher, because sometimes there are more than 1 or 2 questions being asked. We have reading and math, and the reading incorporates science and social studies. When the child enters the computer lab, they're given a placement test. The computer places them at a certain level. This is not fixed in stone. The teacher at any moment can change the student from one level to another, and it's happened. Sometimes the children aren't taking the test seriously and they end up too low. And sometimes they overplace and they need to be moved down. And we come in and he runs for me weekly a set of data that shows me what my children have done that week. I go through this. I highlight it. I look for children that are having trouble with, say, compound words or fractions, or because they're in various programs. So I'm looking for a child that's really having difficulty. I address that in the classroom. I make sure that when I'm teaching, I have incorporated that into my daily lessons. It gives me 40 more sets of hands. It gives me 20 more brains, because I control the ILS, the integrated learning system.
Another proponent for computer-assisted instruction is one of our board members, who has some research information that he would like to share with you now.
About 3 years ago, we sent our superintendent to a meeting in California where he learned about the technology for schools. And one of the things he came home telling us about was the success Calvert County schools were having with ILSs, integrated learning systems, in their schools. They had a large percentage of their students that tested in the lower 30 percentile on the California test scores, and about 15 percentage points of their students tested below 30 percentile. After using the ILSs for 3 years, that percentage had dropped down to less than 5, to about 3%. And the 10 or 12 percentage points that dropped moved up into the upper 30 percentile. And that kind of an opportunity for our students is extremely important, that we bring that technology to our district that will permit our students to have a chance at that sort of an advantage. We have already seen some improvement in our own district in this area. Out at Jane Phillips, we've been using a learning assistance program, and by looking at our records, for 3 years our students remained about constant in their reading testing, and immediately upon using the ILS there, the reading scores improved significantly. For 2 years now we have seen reading improving. And this is the sort of thing that we're coming to our voters and asking them for money to permit us to bring this to our entire district.
The potential for computer-assisted instruction is exciting. It's hands-on, it's interactive, and very personalized. The technology bond proposals are more than computers. It means new and updated science equipment, microscopes and balances, and laboratory materials, as well as computers for our science classrooms.
This community, of course, has always stressed science and math education, and that shows both in our curriculum and our teachers and in our students. That we have a very good track record in those areas, but we are limited by some of the equipment we are currently using. Much of the equipment in the Bartlesville Public Schools dates back several decades or more. For instance, we have microscopes in use in this district that date back to 1952. They're over 42 years old, and when a microscope is that old, it no longer is functional. No matter how often we've rehabilitated it and repaired it, it can't hold its focus anymore, the light source on it's inadequate, and so on, and it simply needs to be replaced. Similarly, some new techniques and technologies have come into place that we haven't been able to take advantage of. For instance, we still are using old double pan balances in some of our schools that are getting older and older, and their accuracy is becoming quite limited, whereas a modern electronic balance is much easier to use, and they can get very accurate data right away. That speeds up the laboratory and allows the teacher to get to the concept that's being taught, not trying to teach a student how to use an outmoded piece of equipment. So we have some basic needs in that area. We also have a great need in the computer area. Computer technology for science education has advanced greatly. We can do all kinds of things in all the subject areas with computers. In physics, you can do all kinds of simulations. Same thing in chemistry, when you can talk about atomic chemistry and so on that you otherwise couldn't simulate. In the biological sciences, there's computer software and video disc software that allows you to go through the human body, slice by slice, like a CAT scan, sort of. And that kind of information lets students develop a much better understanding of the concepts that before we've relied simply on textbooks to teach them. So all these kinds of tools we don't have access to in Bartlesville yet. We're going to get them, but it's a matter of how soon we'll get them, and if it will be in time to prepare our students adequately for the challenges they're going to face, both in the workplace and in higher education, where they will be expected to have used these kinds of tools. In fact, one of my students told me this year they've already been asked on a scholarship application how they use the computer in their science classes. And they had to honestly answer that they had had very little exposure to the computer in science classes because we don't have the computers for them.
I'm planning on going somewhere into the health sciences in college, but I am going on to college for sure, and I expect college to be tough, to be challenging. I expect to use everything I've learned here, including like the little bit that I have learned to do with computers, such as keyboarding, and I expect to be somewhat behind when I get to college because of my lack of technology that I've used at high school, and I hope that it doesn't affect me when I get there.
Right now, I'm going through the scholarship process and the application process for all kinds of colleges, and just to try to get money to help me support my college education. And not having the computer experience and that sort of thing is definitely a drawback, just being accepted to schools, or for the kids that are just going out to get jobs right now. It's a big disadvantage for them also, as they've said. I think that it's also becoming an increasingly more competitive world, and all of the surrounding areas, I mean everywhere in Oklahoma pretty much, except for Bartlesville, has the computer and the technology that we don't have, and so it's a big disadvantage for all the students that come from Bartlesville because they don't have that technology, and the schools see that, or the scholarship people see that, and they see the other people above the Bartlesville people.
As our students leave high school, we have maybe 70% of the students who graduate from here go into higher education, and another 30% though go directly into the workforce. And all those students' needs must be addressed in science and math and in all the curricular areas. And so we have students that are enrolled in science through all levels. And so it's not just a student who's in advanced placement physics who needs to have this kind of equipment. It's a student who's taking Biology 1, a student teaching basic physical science as well. And so we have about 6,000 students in the Bartlesville school system, and 3,000 of them are in secondary science. So just about every kid we've got takes science, of course, at some time. And all of them need this kind of technology to equip them for higher education or for the workforce, where they will be expected to have the knowledge and the experience with science and technology.
Our community told us that technology should be emphasized in our secondary schools, and we reformulated that plan to accommodate that community input. In addition to science equipment at our secondary schools, students would receive multi-purpose and application labs, audio visuals such as laser disc players. Secondary technology tools will help our students accelerate their learning in the content areas, in the core curriculum areas such as reading, social studies, language arts, science, and foreign language, computers, and software for the basic and electives. Learning to access and organize information will be an important part for the students in the workplace and the university classroom. The district library proposal will provide students with technology that will access information from a variety of sources. Our library issues focus on information retrieval, multimedia equipment, learning software, and student workstations.
This is a laser disc player and a monitor. A laser disc is videotapes that have been put by a laser beam onto this. It looks like a record. It will hold 5,400 images. The advantage to it is that it allows a teacher to start and stop at any point that she needs to. If she's doing a lesson on tornadoes, she can instantly send that image to the monitor, and the students are able to view the tornado taking place. We know that if a student sees something visually as well as reading about it, it doubles their learning.
The tornado began as a long, twisting and looping swirl of wind.
We are seeing more and more of our textbooks that will have a visual element with them. This year, Windows on Science has been adopted as one of our textbooks in Bartlesville school systems. Another tool that would be available to our students and teachers would be a CD-ROM. It's very similar to a Laserdisc, but it's smaller, and it runs on a computer. This particular one that I have on the screen now is an entire encyclopedia. You are able to have 250 images on this CD-ROM. Another feature is the Atlas. The student or teacher types in what they would like to look for. It then draws a map and locates the country for them. In this situation, I chose Oman, and it will label the country for the students. Other things that would be available in the library proposal would allow our students, especially in the secondary level, to be connected to even college and university libraries. Information is changing so fast and so rapidly today that we need to be able to access as many different locations of information as we can. We are no longer called libraries, we are library media centers. We have information that is available not only in the printed form but also the visual form. And to prepare our students, we need to have access to as much of this information as possible. This is through online access to magazines, to university libraries, to other libraries in the state, and to even other libraries across the country. Information storage and retrieval needs to be available not only to our teachers and to our students as they enter the information age.
Information retrieval is not only important in the business world, but it's also important for our classrooms. Most college students are now required to do assignments requiring access to international libraries and using data research information. To do this, our schools must start now, building libraries to meet the academic challenges of tomorrow. Another important part to the infusion of technology into our classroom is staff training. Our district is committed to ongoing staff development, which will ensure that our teachers and our staff are properly trained to infuse technology into the curriculum. You've just taken a quick tour of our 3 proposals. Our goal is to increase student achievement that prepares students for the workplace and the college. For our students to measure up to the technical and economic demands of the next century, we must all get involved. Our teachers, our parents, our business community, our retired citizens, and our students, if we expect to meet this challenge.